Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the 2021 Benetas Industry Breakfast. My name is Verity Leith, and I'm the General Manager of Residential Services. It's my absolute pleasure to be your MC this morning. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the Wurundjeri people, the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today, and pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. I extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples here today and the traditional custodians of the land on which you are all located. It's wonderful to have such a great turnout and see so many people participating in this event this morning. We selected again to go virtual this year as at the time of making decisions and perhaps making bookings, there were still too many uncertainties with regard to lockdowns. We're very hopeful, however, that next year we'll be able to come together face to face and enjoy an in-person event. I would particularly like to welcome this morning the Benetas board and executive team, distinguished guests, industry representatives, Benetas employees and volunteers. While this is not our traditional breakfast event, we're still incredibly excited about today's discussion and hope you enjoy it. This year, the theme for our breakfast is Towards Transformation. We believe this theme reflects where the sector is at the moment and also where Benetas as an organisation is heading. Continuing the Benetas industry breakfast tradition of a panel discussion, our panel members will provide their own personal accounts of what towards transformation means, but from a workforce perspective. I think we can agree that workforce is one of our biggest challenges, both now and into the future. We're managing significant workforce pressures right now due to border closures, single site rules, vaccination mandate and burnout amongst many of our employees from the last 18 months of dealing with the global pandemic and increased workloads that has entailed. Going forward, it is projected that we will need to attract an additional 100,000 workers in the next 10 years and 400,000 by 2050 to meet the increasing needs of an ageing population. On that note, I'd like to warmly welcome our panel members, Louise O'Neill, CEO of the Aged Care Workforce Industry Council, Corinne Hawkins, leading consultant, NeuroLeadership Institute, and Bradley Lynch, a member of Benetas team, a Benetas in-home nursing service assistant. Thank you for taking the time to join us today and for agreeing to share your thoughts and insights. It'll be an interesting discussion and we'll also open up to our audience, so please start to think about what you might like to ask any of our panel members. We will also hear from Benetas Chairman Michael Irwin, who will detail the organisation's financial performance over the last year, and Benetas CEO Sandra Hills, who will provide insights into the environment and achievements of the last year, and while giving a sneak peek of what's to come for Benetas. Now to a bit of housekeeping. As mentioned, there'll be time for questions after we've heard from our panel, so we encourage you to have a think about those and please put them in the chat function and they will be forwarded to me to relay to the panellists. The 2020-21 annual report was launched today. I've got a sneak peek copy, hopefully that's on the camera nicely, but it is available for download on the Benetas website, or you can email events@benetas.com.au to request a copy emailed to you. You can also access a digital copy of annual report by clicking on the link in the top right-hand corner of your screen. So now to get started. I'd like to now invite one of our board members, Archdeacon Helen Phillips, to share an Anglican blessing with us. Thank you, Helen.
Thank you, Verity. It's a joy to be here today and a privilege. So let's pray. God of life, our past, our present and our future, we give you thanks for another year of life and service and all that's been achieved in and through Benetas. We ask your guidance and wisdom as we seek to move towards transformation in our industry and our organisation. Bless those we care for, our staff, our volunteers, our partners and our supporters, and bless us as we gather to celebrate this morning. This we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Helen. Now please join me in welcoming Benetas Chairman Michael Irwin to provide an overview of our financial performance for the 2020-2021 financial year.
Thanks very much, Verity. And good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 2021 Benetas Industry Breakfast. I'm confident that you will find it an insightful morning, and I must say I'm particularly looking forward to the panel discussion. As Verity mentioned, Sandra will provide her yearly update in a moment, highlighting the past 12 months. But I'd like to now talk a little bit about the year from the board's perspective. As you may already be aware, Anglican Aged Care Services Group, which trades as Benetas, is a public company limited by guarantee. The board of directors are the sole members of the company, and we held our annual general meeting in November of this year, November the 8th, slightly later than usual due to COVID-19 restrictions. With regards to the 2020-2021 financial year, I would first and foremost like to say how proud I am of everyone in the organisation and what has been achieved over the past year, especially given the current climate. The impact of COVID-19 on the organisation has been immense, not only on the necessity to adapt to ever-changing government requirements, but also on the mental strain it has caused in the 24/7 threat of the virus affecting our community and the people we care for at Benetas. I have seen incredible resilience amongst Benetas employees, led by a strong executive team and leadership group. In addition, the year has seen the release of the Aged Care Royal Commission final report after 18 months of hearings. We have made a significant contribution to help shape those deliberations, making 8 submissions, with Sandra herself appearing in person to provide insights into workforce. We are on the precipice of some big changes in the sector. Naturally, we are all keen to understand the impact of these and to continue to respond proactively to the Commission recommendations. It is no secret that many aged care providers, over half in the country, are still struggling financially and running at a loss. While we are not waiting for government in relation to changes outlined by the Royal Commission, we do need a strong demonstration that the government will support the sector to work through the significant transformation period over the coming years. Benetas is fortunate to have the backup of sound financial investments. However, we always aim to run at a modest surplus so we can invest that surplus back into the business to grow and improve the services for future older Victorians and in line with our mission and our vision. Despite the external environmental challenges, Benetas continues to take great strides in delivering on its commitments. Sandra will go into more detail on the specifics, but we have delivered on a number of milestones over the past 12 months. For example, we acquired a new home in Melbourne's southeast, Clarinda on the Park. We submitted the planning application for a residential aged care and retirement living development in Gisborne. Approval has just recently come through on the planning application for the residential aged care home component of that development. We completed 15 units at Dalkeith Heights Retirement Village and commenced Stage 1 civil works for the St John's Rise Retirement Village at Mooralbach, a really exciting development. We won the Veterans Home Care tender to coordinate Veterans Home Care services for clients across the entire state of Victoria. We welcomed our 1,000th home care clients. We finalised the Benetas People Plan and created the Benetas Leadership Capability Framework to better facilitate all Benetas employees as organisational leaders. These are just a few examples. Benetas continues its strong connections with our local communities and to draw on our 70-year plus Anglican heritage as we consistently acknowledge. I'm very proud of the investments we make in areas such as pastoral care, which ensures our customers' spiritual needs are met are attended to and provides holistic development and care throughout Benetas. I'm also proud of the One Wish and Hardship funds which we offer to clients. In the 12-month period, we delivered 3 wishes and 11 hardship requests. It is important that we keep fulfilling these requests as part of our social dividend commitment. From a financial perspective, Benetas has delivered an improved result for 2021 financial year, despite the very difficult impacts of COVID-19. The company continued to focus on its operational performance, particularly in residential and home care services, delivering a modest surplus of $7.2 million. Overall, Benetas saw a net surplus for the end of the financial year of $5.7 million. Our financial stability will assist us in being able to manage the changes ahead. And you will find a summary of Benetas's financial performance in the annual report, as Verity mentioned, which is available on the Benetas website. Importantly, we have continued to meet our constitutional commitments while maintaining the quality and standard of our services across the board. At this point, I would like to recognise the contribution of our board members who tirelessly dedicate themselves and offer their expertise to Benetas. My sincerest thanks go to Helen Blaustein, Susan Campbell, Deirdre Featherstone-Howe, Deborah Law, Michael Murray, Sean Boulding, Helen Phillips, and Julia Pryor, as well as our external advisors on our subcommittees for their contributions to the business over the past 12 months. I think one of the key features of why governance works at Benetas is the strong and mutually supportive way the board relates to and works with senior management. In Sandra Hills, we have an outstanding, dedicated CEO, and she is well supported by her team of general managers. I particularly note the work Neil Fawcett does, not only as CFO, but also as company secretary. Our achievements, though, would not have been possible without the dedication of our Benetas employees and the selfless support by our volunteers. On behalf of the board, I would like to thank each and every one of you for your commitment, your generosity, and your passion. Your invaluable contribution enables us to fulfill our vision and mission for our customers and the communities in which we serve. So I do thank you for attending this morning. I hope you enjoy the rest of our industry breakfast, and hopefully next year we will have some food to go along with that breakfast. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. I'd now like to welcome Benetas CEO Sandra Hills to reflect on the last year at Benetas.
Thank you, Verity. And I must say, I really don't enjoy standing here in my room with the door shut. It's like being in a box. But anyhow, I know there's a lot of support and love out there, so thank you. And yes, I definitely promise next year we'll be at the Arts Centre or we'll be at Federation Square or somewhere, and yes, there will be food. I'm also enjoying, I'd also like to let you know before I start, I've already started to visit the services, which I'm really enjoying. Last week I visited Coral Court in Mornington, and I know people were really pleased to see me. It's fantastic to get out there. It's been like 3 or 4 months since I've actually gone out and spoken to any residents, service users, staff. It was so enjoyable. Anyhow, now welcome everyone to our 2021 industry breakfast. And as Michael has said, I'm also looking forward to our panel discussion a bit later and hearing the insights from our panel members as we head towards transformation of the aged care workforce. Towards transformation, we thought really carefully about that topic, that heading, because we think it's representative of the events of the last 12 months for the aged care sector and for us at Benetas as we set ourselves up for a long-term sustainable future. A greater understanding of the aged care sector transformation culminated earlier this year in the release of the final report of the Royal Commission into Aged Care Quality and Safety, which I know you all know included 148 recommendations. While the commissioners didn't agree on everything, it was great to see such a comprehensive report and recommendations. And the federal government's response to the report accepted 126 of the 148 recommendations, but it didn't accept 6 of the recommendations, and it said it would further consider 12, and it also provided an alternative on 4 recommendations. Hopefully that adds up to 148 recommendations. 17.1 billion in funding was committed, however, over 5 years, with money going into a number of areas, including an additional 80,000 home care packages, which we've started to see come through now, residential aged care sustainability, the $10 per resident per day, quality and safety, workforce and governance. And this has been the largest single investment in aged care and the largest in the response to the Royal Commission in Australian history. But the devil will be in the detail. And I'm quite concerned that things are not moving as fast as they should. In many cases, there is not the transparency there should be with the implementation of the Royal Commission recommendations, along with the meaningful engagement of the sector. So we have to maintain the pressure. We know that there is a federal election coming up sometime between now and May next year, so that pressure must be maintained. But we as an organisation at Benetas are not waiting. A significant amount of work has been undertaken over the past 12 months, as Michael said, setting us up to ride the sector transformation wave for the long-term benefits of the organisation and those we support. We continue to play an active role in advocacy efforts to help shape the sector. Many in Benetas contribute to government and sector inquiries and sit on working groups, volunteering their time to advance the sector more broadly. And we're intimately involved in assisting to deliver on a number of strategic actions that were identified in a matter of Care Australia's Aged Care Workforce Strategy. And I'm also very proud to be a director on the Aged Care Workforce Industry Council. And it's great, by the way, to have the council CEO, Lou O'Neill, here with us today to provide her insights into workforce challenges and opportunities. We also work closely with our peak body colleagues in Leith, Leading Age Services Australia and Anglicare Australia, of which I'm also a director, to support their advocacy efforts. A great example was the establishment of the Australian Aged Care Collaboration, comprising 6 organisations, including Leith and Anglicare Australia. And we, as I said, we're a member of both of those organisations and representing over 1,000 providers across Australia. The collaboration launched a national campaign, It's Time to Care About Aged Care, aimed at putting pressure on the federal government to commit to major reform as part of its May budget announcement. Benetas supported the campaign by way of letters to politicians and social media, and it proved extremely successful with over 50,000 people signing the petition. Our research team also continues to explore how we can make a positive difference to the lives of those we support. For example, in May this year, research was published on volunteers in aged care, looking at the best way to attract and retain them. Volunteers, as you've heard Michael say, are an essential part of the support we provide to customers, and this support was disrupted due to COVID-19 lockdowns. The research will help us to build engagement with volunteers again and enable the important connections to be established with our customers. The team also published a comprehensive review of best practice management of falls in community settings and researched the impact of moving into residential aged care. This led to the development of a new transition process for incoming residents. During the reporting period, we focused a great deal on building our expertise to set us up for the future. We upskilled in infection prevention and control, crisis management and governance in order to continue to manage the COVID pandemic environment. And I have to say and acknowledge Verity and her team were right front and centre in that area. The pandemic has had a significant impact on our organisation, particularly in respite centres, closing for most of the reporting period due to lockdowns. However, respite in residential services increased by 100% as we successfully tested campaigns to boost take-up. In particular, the organisation mobilised an extraordinary effort to vaccinate all employees and the majority of residents. It was a challenging time as the directions were not always clear, but we're pleased to confirm that 100% of our employees are vaccinated and 92% of our residents in our home are vaccinated, which is a great result. We are now working on rolling out booster shots for residents and employees, and booster shots have already started in residential care. You'll probably be aware of that. We have been reviewing our business intelligence and legislative compliance requirements and have implemented a number of cyber security measures. These went a long way to protecting us against a cyber breach on our network earlier this year. I went off on a few days leave, and on that eve when I went on leave, there you go. That's why you have someone acting in that role. The breach was reported, and the team did an excellent job in responding. And thankfully, due to the measures, no confidential customer or information from the organisation was compromised. In early 2021, we were thrilled to welcome the residents and employees of Corinne on the Park, which Michael has already mentioned, to the Benetas family, and it's a home in Melbourne South East, which we successfully acquired. This was the result of a lot of work by many, and we're delighted to now provide the Corinne on the Park community with refurbishment across some areas of the home. The refurbishment, unfortunately, has been stop-start due to COVID and a whole range of other things, but it started again, third trial time lucky. We were also really pleased to introduce a new customer relationship management system, or CRM as we call it, for the business, which is transforming our ability to capture, track and respond to our new customers. In addition, we commenced work on stage 1 of retirement living units at St John's Rise in Mooroolbark, which also has had stop-start, and stage 3 retirement living units in Dalkeith Heights at Traralgon. And we submitted a planning application for a new residential aged care home and retirement living complex in Gisborne, which is all very exciting. We will be breaking ground on the residential aged care component mid-next year, which is great news for the area of Gisborne. In residential services, we continue to develop communities of practice to guide and improve our work. Much work has also been undertaken to prepare 10 of our homes for its re-accreditation. The next financial year will be a big one as the accreditation process begins. That's basically been delayed for about 12 months due to COVID. The residential services team has been working tirelessly on managing the fallout of COVID-19 pandemic, including constant changes to guidelines and visitor requirements. They've been amazing. Our new in-home visitor program management system, Zipline, which I got to use again next week with its added services, was fantastic, and it's been a great asset in managing visitor registrations and temperature checks over these last few challenging months. I know the toll this takes, and I want to sincerely thank each and every one of our Benetas community for their resilience and dedication. In community health and care, we welcomed Helen Kemp, who actually last year was our MC. I think we gave her a few months, and then we asked her if she wanted to be the MC. So we welcomed Helen as new general manager last year, and Helen has hit the ground running, significantly driving the division's 3-year transformation project. There's that word again, transformation. The project includes a redesign of our service delivery model and internal restructure to better meet clients' needs, and Helen's done and her team have done an amazing job there. As Michael mentioned, this project has so far seen a milestone of over 1,000 clients now, and increased positive feedback and improved performance of our direct care and in-home nursing team. So well done to everyone involved. Alongside this, we restructured our allied health service delivery in Gisborne, providing much more clarity on the fee-for-service model as opposed to supported services. This resulted in the launch of an Allied Health Plus, which has already turned a business unit deficit into a substantial surplus. So well done to Yvonne and team, all of which can be directed back into the local community. And we were thrilled to be able to offer greater support for veterans as well, with the Veteran Homes Care Assessment Team winning the contract to assess clients for veterans home care in an additional 5 regions. And as Michael said, we're now providing that assessment service across Victoria. To assist people considering aged care, we launched an Aged Care Explained video and fact sheet, which outlined the range of services available. You can find it on our website. And we were delighted to win the Laser National Innov Ageing Award for realising wellness and reablement. And this was on our online positive ageing tool, or we call it PAT, which provides tailored resources to better inform older Australians during their ageing journey. And you can find this it's easy to find on our website. The Centre for Cultural Diversity and Ageing had a busy year conducting 300 diversity consultations over the last 12 months. The Inclusive Standards online learning module was also released, and the team secured a grant to launch the National Multilingual Older Persons COVID-19 Support Line, a great achievement by the team. And people might have heard during the dark days of COVID for the second round that there was a lot of issues about people from COL backgrounds not having vaccinations and having to really call on the leaders in those communities to step up. And one of the things that Lisa told me, who heads up our centre, is that they weren't just doing phone consults. This is really important. They were doing outreach services for which they were not funded for. People wanted face-to-face services. They did not want phone services. They were useful, but Lisa and her team provided the outreach services, which were fantastic. That service has now been, they've been funded, and they have ceased providing the service. I'm not suggesting there's still enough work to be done, but there you go. For our employers, we were excited to renovate the support office in Hawthorn East and bring all employees onto one floor. So when people came back after Christmas last year, they had a bright new space to go to. The redesign means we now have plenty of natural light and state-of-the-art technology, which creates a more productive and supportive work environment, and a much nicer one too, and a very, 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 very big coffee machine. We're also delighted to be able to hold the employee gala event, which was a dinner, in person at the MCG. No, the MCG, it was just fabulous. And that was held in March. And we had the most amazing, beautiful night. It was sunny and gorgeous. And over 300 employees attended from across the organisation. There was a wonderful sense of celebration. It was the first time people got dressed up for a long time, and people went to a lot of trouble. And the dance floor was packed even before the entrees were even served. Who's ever seen that? People just, once the band started, it was packed. So they had a fantastic night. In addition, we were able to host the annual volunteer thank you luncheon with over 100 volunteers in attendance. Again, it was a thrill to be able to see and thank our volunteers in person. I was on leave at that time, but Nicola was acting me, and so that was fantastic that she was able to support that event and thank everyone. The People Plan is an important strategic document which identifies and aligns organisational people priorities with our next generation strategy. Much work was done to develop our leadership competency framework, which recognises the role that all employees play in leadership. The framework provides a strong foundation for our growth and our expertise and growth and accountability. We managed to complete the listening tour with our employees in the reporting period, which had been interrupted due to COVID-19. Overwhelmingly, we heard that our employees are extremely passionate about the work they do and how much they care about our customers. The listening tour resulted in the development of the What You Do Matters campaign. The purpose was to instill a sense of pride in our employers, to affirm our appreciation for all the magnificent work that our Benitez team do each and every day. And following research with potential customers, we adapted this into the By Your Side brand campaign and showcased the pride that our employees have in working with Benetez and in aged care. In 2021 financial year was intensive as we responded to the COVID-19 pandemic, but we also managed to implement projects that work towards continuous improvement for our customers. This work is providing a strong foundation for the changes ahead. We are ready and are enthusiastic, even though a little bit tired. Perhaps we need a bit of a break over Christmas, New Year, but we're positive about transformation of the aged care sector. Importantly, we cannot do this without every single one of our employees who continue to show great stamina, dedication and compassion every day. Our journey towards transformation is set to be our greatest achievement, thanks to our employees and the incredible people we care for and support. So I'm coming to the end, and I would just like to thank a few people, particularly our employees, volunteers, the executive team and the board of directors for your dedication in making Benetez a wonderful organisation to be part of. You always are at a risk if you thank people personally. But I did want to say to the board of directors particularly, and also Michael, during COVID, the darkest days, we had a number of outbreaks. We had one large one and we've had some small ones. but the board were always behind us. They stood behind us. We had the resources we need. Every time I reported that there was another outbreak, they were very confident in what we did. They were right behind us. So I think that's really important. They weren't second guessing us or concerned. Of course, if they had been concerned, they would have supported us to address the issues. So thank you to our board for your ongoing support and confidence. And also, I would like to thank Michael. Michael, you talked about the governance and the good relationship between the executive team and the board. That is so true. But also an important relationship is between the chairman of the board and the CEO. And I think that I know that relationship is very strong, and it also builds on the strength and makes the organisation strong. There are many team members who have gone above and beyond during the past 12 months. There are people that have just dropped everything, facility managers and just clinical care coordinators and other leaders, and gone into the facility. We've had people who've just gone up and used their nursing registration when we've had lockdowns and gone and delivered in-home care in our nursing services. We've had so many people just say, what do you need done? And I think that is why one of the reasons why we've been successful. People have just mucked in, worked as a team and done what had to be done. And thank you to everyone for that. In the operational areas, they've been amazing. The quality partners, the wellbeing team, team, people diversity, and the pastoral care team, just to name a few. I feel humble and proud to lead this organisation. So thank you to all of you who have joined the event today, and I know you'll be looking forward to the panel presentation like I am. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for your words, Sandra. Well, yes, reflecting on the years made me feel exhausted. It's amazing how much we achieved during a very difficult and challenging year, and hopefully next year we'll be able to achieve even more because we won't be in the thrust of COVID. Now it's time for our panel discussion to discuss and reflect on our theme of towards transformation in relation to the aged care workforce. I would like to welcome our three panellists: Louise O'Neill, CEO of the Aged Care Workforce Industry Council; Corinne Hawkins, Lead Consultant, NeuroLeadership Institute; and Bradley Lynch, Benetas In-Home Service Assistant. Louise commenced as the inaugural CEO of the Aged Care Workforce Industry Council mid-last year, and she was tasked with leading the organisation in delivering A Matter of Care, which was a report completed by John Pellez about the aged care workforce. Louise started her career as a registered nurse and has since had over 18 years' experience in the Australian public service, including 8 years as a senior executive, holding positions across health, disability and communications portfolios. She played an integral role in designing the Living Longer, Living Better reforms of 2012, including the Addressing Workforce Pressures measure, and led change management across aged care reforms. She's passionate about the aged care workforce and is committed to enabling it to achieve the recognition and opportunities it deserves. Welcome, Louise. Corinne is a lead consultant at the NeuroLeadership Institute. She partners with large multinational organisations across Asia, Europe and North America to advance the way they think about the challenges of leadership by understanding how the brain works. Corinne blends a deep understanding of neuroscience research with practical executive experience to transform behaviours and processes around leadership and key talent management systems to create organisations where people want to come and do their best work. Welcome, Corinne, and thank you for joining us. Bradley has been with Benetas since January this year and previously worked in the tyre industry for 13 years following leaving school. He worked his way up in that industry from a tyre fitter to state manager for Good Ride Tyres Australia, and clearly had a bit of a career change, and it'll be interesting to hear from him regarding that. So welcome, Bradley. Our panel session this morning will consist of a discussion prompted with some questions that I've already got here. But as we've said previously, you have the opportunity to ask questions, so please don't hesitate to put that in the chat function. You'll see a little speech bubble icon in the bottom right-hand corner of your video player. Please click on the icon and type in your question. You're welcome to start doing this now so we can move straight into your questions once the panellists have given the answers to the ones that I already have prepared. So here we go. The past 12 months continues to challenge the aged care sector, and no more so than with regards to workforce, and we do hear that constantly. Demands on recruitment have increased significantly during the past sort of 12 to 18 months due to single site rules, closed international borders and the loss of international students at our educational institutions. Most recently, mandatory vaccinations, and some people have chosen that's not the path they wish to take, which has resulted in the loss of some employees. In addition, we're seeing strong signs of burnout due to stress and I think just tiredness from heightened alert reacting to numerous COVID scares, and even just the low-level tension just trying to keep it out of our homes and keeping out of our home care clients, managing lockdowns and the effect this has had on our customers and their loved ones, because of course we've had times when the homes have been closed and that's been very stressful for the residents and their families. Going forward, we have an additional 80,000, beg your pardon, home care packages about to be released that will require a workforce to be able to deliver those services. The Royal Commission recommendations, which include minimum contact hours. We're not sure where we're going to find all those RNs and carers. Ongoing professional development requirements. Talking about the aged care industry and being more clear and articulating a career progression. And we will need to find a further 100,000 workers over the next 10 years just to support the ageing population as it stands now. Some say we're in an aged care workforce crisis. Firstly, Louise, the Aged Care Workforce Industry Council has just released the Workforce Narrative, which explores survey responses from 109,000 aged care employees from data collected between 2009 and 2019. Could you provide us a snapshot of aged care employees based on this work?
Certainly can. Thanks, Verity. The report is it's a seminal piece of work for the council. It's an extensive piece of data that we've never seen that sort of data before around aged care. I don't think in my time, at least, I haven't seen it. And the report shows that aged care workforce is getting younger, and that the number of young people working in aged care has significantly increased. And it's a great thing to see now that we've got a much greater spread of age groups working and are being attracted to aged care. The biggest increase, importantly, is in the 25 to 36-year-old age bracket, which we've never seen younger people coming in to aged care in this numbers as we have in the last few years of the report of the data. So that shift in demographic is also having an impact on what we're seeing in terms of the data, and the top reasons why people are drawn to work in aged care. It remains that it's really altruistic, that the desire to interact with and to care for elderly people and have those relationships, build those relationships with those they care for, is very, very much the top reason for coming and working in this industry. But importantly, there's an increase in other aspects that people are we expect that this is related to younger workers coming in, that they see it's important to have a reputation of the organisation they work for, the location of where they work, that there are job opportunities and there's job security. So we see those as very much have changed as we've got younger people coming in over the years, that those have become higher priorities. But like I said, altruism is still very important. So both the workforce narrative and the aged care census database, where the data is extracted from, are available online and from our website if people want to go and drill into that, because the insights are really valuable to managers and to workers to be able to see what are the changing ways that the workforce sees itself, and how do managers work with that and implement different actions in their workplace to attract and retain their workers and support them for the work they do.
Well, thank you. Corinne, drawing on this and with your unique perspective, what can you tell us about the motivations and the drivers of why people do the kind of work they do?
My apologies, finding the unmute button. Yes, thank you, Verity, and good morning, everyone. It's great to be with you. I'm joining you from Camaragal country in Lane Cove in New South Wales. Look, motivation is an interesting and in some ways complex thing to understand. I'm sure it's not any surprise to people here that people do the work they do for many different reasons. And Louise just talked about, that altruistic aspect of the way people, the reasons why people join the work and do the work in aged care. I mean, their motivations can be broadly grouped into two two groups. So there's the extrinsic motivation. So there's the pay, the reward, the opportunity for reputation and, you know, looking good in the eyes of people. And then there's the intrinsic motivations, which Louise just referred to and which I'm sure Bradley will talk about as well, which is the motivators that speak to purpose and meaning in work. And whilst it is important that people have a level of extrinsic motivation, so we need to pay people the right amount of money, there needs to be a certain level at which people need to be paid to survive. The more sustaining drivers for people's work definitely sit within that meaning and purpose, in that altruistic, as Louise referred to it. At a certain level, the dollars become less important, and that level varies. There's research that tries to pinpoint what that level might be, and the indicators at the moment are that's increasing. But at a certain point, money becomes less of a driver. And it's this attraction to motivation and purpose that's important. It's interesting, Louise spoke about the younger demographic that's coming through, and we know that actually this is a much stronger driver for people in that age group than previously. We also know that it's a strong attractor, but it can be a challenge to be a retainer in that space. So what we need to look at, I think, are what drives people to join and to work in an industry, but also what are the things that are going to keep them there. So in terms of the intrinsic versus extrinsic, we actually do need to pay people at a level that takes it off the table as a demotivator. But we also need to dial up those aspects of work that are connected to purpose and meaning while creating environments where people enjoy coming to work, because that actually emphasises the rewards around the altruistic motivators and makes it less important for them to be really focused on some of those external things. So let me leave it at that.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Well, Bradley, how does this relate to you? You've had a career change. So what can you tell us about why you came to work in aged care?
Certainly. And thank you, Verity, for your question. Look, I got made redundant in my previous job, and I could have just moved on to another company, and that was offered to me. But I actually sat back, and it was during when we first had COVID last year, when the pandemic started, and I saw how it was affecting the aged care community, and I really thought that maybe this is something that I should look into. And so I reskilled, and I started working within the aged care community, and I find it that it's been, it's so rewarding, and it's very meaningful, and especially during COVID, where a lot of the clients, they couldn't even see their family, and so they had no social interactions. So even just coming into their home, you're doing a quick vac and just checking over, but you sit and have a cup of tea with them and just a quick chat, and it really makes their week. It really does, and it's rewarding for yourself as well, because you see the difference you make with people. It's extremely rewarding career. Thank you.
Thank you. So Louise, as we hear and understand more about the sense of purpose and the importance it plays in people choosing to do the work they do, what do you see as the biggest barriers in attracting and retaining these types of people to the industry?
Yeah, so it's an interesting question, Verity, because over the last 10 years, the dominant reason that we've seen in the study was that employees decided to leave because their organisation, generally because of retirement, because they'd got older and it was time to retire. But more recently, we've seen the top reasons for leaving aged care have changed to being around being underpaid, or poor management of an organisation, or higher workloads. And a growing number of workers do not think they're receiving fair pay for their work. And we need to improve the skills of managers, is what we're hearing also from this data, and that managerial competency has a huge impact on retention in organisations. So, if I was running an aged care organisation, I would be looking at how my managers are trained and the leadership skills that they have to actually, make sure that they're having the right positive impact with their workforce. But we also need to ensure that workers are given time to have quality and meaningful interactions. Like Bradley's talking about, it's those meaningful interactions, being able to sit down and talk to the people that you're providing support to, and being able to understand, well, you know, where they're at and why what their story is, and being part of their lives, because that's the big part of that altruism, and being able to be purposeful in your work. So there are a number of things that we can do to ensure staff feel valued and connected, and they include offering opportunities to staff within their workplace, running effective induction programs, staff recognition programs, and the other piece is quality training opportunities. Training is coming through as very important with more recent years of the data.
Thank you. Corinne, what insights can you provide as you hear these challenges, and how we can build on the attraction of the workforce, and ways we can better retain these workers in our industry?
Yes, thanks, Verity. It's always a pleasure for me to talk to the science when the stats back it up. And so if I look to the science and the research, you know, there's an old adage that says people don't leave organisations, they leave their managers. And so, you know, when we're talking about creating organisations where people want to come and do their best work and really enjoy working there, research tells us there are a couple of things that really make the difference. So one of them is that they want to feel that they're an important and valued part of the team. They want to know that their contributions are valued. They want to acknowledge that, and they want to have an opportunity to contribute in that way. And they want to know that the organisation has their interests at heart. And this, when we're thinking about the recent experience through the lockdowns and the pandemic, one of the things that's been really interesting is that this has been the laying down of the myth stories for the next generation of workers about how particular organisations truly live their values and care for their workers. So in years to come, when people talk about what's it like to work at Benetas or what's it like to work at wherever, they'll hear stories about, oh, you know, during those really hard times of COVID, we were valued, we were looked after, we felt that we were part of the team. So there's that piece. The other piece that really comes through strongly is this wanting opportunities to grow and develop. So to be able to increase their skills, to be able to, be recognised as professionals and look to other opportunities within the aged care sector and have those opportunities to grow and stretch themselves to become better workers and more productive contributors in the industry. And then the third area that's coming through very strongly and has really been emphasised throughout the lockdowns and the pandemic is this sense of autonomy and flexibility. So a sense that the organisation recognises that, you know, work happens within the context of life. And we engage in work, but we also engage in life. And so having the opportunity to have some level of autonomy, even small levels of autonomy, have a surprisingly positive impact on the way people engage with organisations and the way people think about the work that they do in organisations. So, look, I think the overarching theme here is that people want strong, authentic leadership that really live the values that are being proclaimed. They want to see that those values are clearly articulated and clearly demonstrated in behaviours. And they want to feel that they are part of an overarching, something bigger than themselves. But they need the leaders to be able to kind of carry that vision and help them to join the dots. So those are the things that I think are really important.
Oh, thank you. Bradley, what observations can you offer with regards to what you believe is important to an existing workforce, and even potentially what's been important to you in terms of this career change in the aged care industry?
I think what I've found is the communication between higher management and care workers is excellent, as well as communication with client. So everyone's on board, everyone knows what's going on, as well as inclusions between disabilities, sexuality, gender, all that is all very inclusive. Job security is a huge thing. And that's something that, we all kind of felt during COVID that, job security wasn't there with anyone. And so this is an industry that you do have a job and you know that you are supported. All I can say from Benetas is that, we have a lot of support as well as personal support. We have, there's counsellors there that have helped us. I've lost a client, and I was able to call up a counselling service and speak to someone, and they helped me talk through it and supported me through it, as well as my managers were there. They rang me nearly every day just to make sure that I was doing all right, and if I needed to talk to someone. That kind of support you don't see in other industries, and it actually feels like you are a valued member of this industry and of this company.
Oh, thank you. Okay, now I'd like to ask each of you to have a think about what impact COVID has had on the workforce. And I'll start with you, Louise.
Put me off guard. I had my mute on. I'm getting myself organised. Look, Verity, everybody has spoken about the really, I guess, trying and negative and tragic aspects of COVID and what impact that's had on workers. And I've put my hat on over the time and thought about when, I worked as a registered nurse for 22 years, mostly in emergency and ICU, but I dabbled in aged care on weekends as an agency RN in many services across Australia. And I've thought about what would it feel like to be in this space at the moment. And I can see all the difficulties that higher work demand, been having to engage with a broader number of people to do the job, being stretched even further with those competing pressures. The Royal Commission's handed down. You've got difficulties of negativity of the vision of the sector in all of those aspects. But I'd like to turn it on its head and think about something different. And there are other things I think that have come out of this that I hope are bubbling and boiling in the sector in a really positive way. And that is this unity and strength and pride of the workforce. You've done a fantastic job. You can hold your heads high. There's insight, recognition and confidence from the public, from the community. Yes, there are negative stories out there that are driving the compulsion to say aged care is all bad, but it's not. We know it's not all bad. In fact, most people are getting good services or great services, and workers are great at their jobs. So it's those stories we need to be telling and shouting from the rooftop, those really positive stories. And we need to feel, the workforce needs to feel really proud of what they do. They've held together in probably the most difficult and challenging environment during COVID. And you still have a smile on your face. Bradley's got a great smile on his face. So, but how well aged care has performed, how well the workforce has performed in protecting the most vulnerable people in this country. What a great industry it is to work in, and hence, we are attracting great people like Bradley to the industry during COVID, no less. So we've got to keep building that story, because that is the story we need to tell and we need to hold on to. It is a great industry, and workers have done a fantastic job. So I will leave it at that.
Thank you. I'll change the question just to hear it slightly differently. So, Corinne, what are you optimistic about with regards to workforce as we head towards transformation?
Yeah, look, I think one of the things, and I'll combine the two questions, because one of the great things that we've seen as a result of COVID is people have been able to press the pause button, or they haven't really had any choice. We've had a kind of global pressing of the pause button, and what we're seeing now is that people are reassessing and reevaluating their relationship to work. Now, in overseas, in North America, and particularly Europe, that's kind of being framed as the great resignation, where people are kind of leaving their jobs in droves. But what we're seeing more here is more a great reassessment or a realignment of thinking about, how can I actually use my work, or how can I engage in work in a more meaningful way? So if you like, it's really dialed up that piece around looking for purpose and meaning in work. And what that means is that, there's probably a greater pool of people, a greater pool of talent that are open to being attracted into the aged care industry, and open to, being attracted into work that delivers more benefit to the community, builds community infrastructure, contributes to, that whole more positive way of thinking. People have been in the negative space for so long and been in a state of threat that there's a real sense that people are saying, you know what, I don't know that I want to go back to that way of working. I don't want to know I want to go back to that piece. And so I'm really optimistic. Aged care, the sector itself, and Benetas in particular, has a great story to tell about that. And people like Bradley are part of that story. And people like Louise who bring the facts and figures. And it's that combination of data plus story that creates really compelling messages that can attract people into the industry. So I think that's a really optimistic place for the industry to be in terms of attracting that needed workforce that Michael was talking about earlier. So that would be optimistic for me. Yeah.
Thank you. Bradley, how do you feel about the optimism in the industry?
Well, look, in my eyes, it's a great industry to go into. It's probably been the most rewarding job that I've ever done. I find that all my clients are very happy to see me, even if they're having a bad day. Look, the easiest way is it's just rewarding. It really is. I don't do it for the pay. I don't do it for anything other than just going and having a good time and, sitting and have a cup of tea, you have a chat. I get to learn about their life stories, which is amazing. I've met people that were in wars and have seen some really terrible things. And I've, met people that have been close enough to, meet the Queen. So it really is just it's a really optimistic and it's a great industry to work in.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I've got one sort of final question that's come from the audience, so thank you so very much. So I'll put it to Louise. Louise, what do you think are the opportunities for older workers, given the serious vacancy issues we have in the industry?
It's a good question. We are about to embark on a piece of work that is looking at the future job architecture of the sector. So what are the jobs of the future? What are the job types, job families? How do people move up and across and have a full career in aged care? It's a massive industry and people could work in all sort of aspects of it. Older workers, absolutely they should be embraced in aged care. Older workers have been the backbone of aged care for as long as I can remember. And there is nothing in saying that younger workers are coming in and are being attracted to it. That's great, but don't forget our older workforce, because they have always been the backbone of this industry and will remain so. I don't doubt that people will remain attracted to it over time. I would see that there are different job opportunities for people that will be hopefully less stressful on their bodies as they get older, and allow people to stay longer in the industry. As you see things like lifestyle workforce coming through, different administrative roles and other things where people can still have that contact with clients, but not have to be doing the backbreaking work all the time that perhaps they might be doing in some of the more hands-on caring roles. So I see that over time we will find be able to outline those sort of career pathways for people. But it's not uncommon to see someone that comes in as a personal care worker and works their way up and becomes, ends up in management. I'm sure there's many people on the call today who are management who've come through those ranks. And, I've done the same thing myself through nursing. So there is nothing to stop people from having a fantastic career and going to all sorts of levels in this industry. So I hope that answers the question.
No, definitely. Thank you. So I think we can agree it's been a very interesting panel discussion. I've taken some notes to myself, even reminding me to be intentional in the way that I work with my team and celebrate their successes and actually demonstrate the value they provide to me in terms of the support they provide to me, but more broadly to the organisation. So thank you so much. Really appreciate all of your expertise and the time that you've taken. Just before we pass to the next phase, I just wanted to say that there's a comment from the audience to actually say to Bradley how brave you are making such a big decision, moving away from, the tire industry into a caring industry, and you obviously have so much love and passion. I think your clients must be very fortunate to have you as the worker that attends them, and that we would want to definitely acknowledge that. And I agree, you're a great advertisement not only for Benetas but for the industry more broadly. And thank you very much for making the decision to make the jump.
Sorry, I was just going to say, look, I didn't do it for me. I did it for the clients, to be honest. They really are. I have the best time with them.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Before we conclude today's industry breakfast, I'd now like to finish with a short video from some of our employees on what they enjoy about working in aged care. I hope you enjoy it.
As the head of talent and capability for Benetas, I know firsthand the importance of attracting new talent to the aged care workforce. A substantial increase to intake is going to be required as we welcome over 100,000 additional aged care workers to the workforce over the next 10 years. For our carers, it's not just a job. They do it because they love caring for others and they find it extremely rewarding.
I've always had an urge to want to help people. Why not use that for something positive within the community, in more specific, the elderly community, because they're the ones that are most vulnerable.
After seeing what was happening with the pandemic last year, I felt that this is a sector that really needs more hands-on work, and that's what I did. I changed my career completely and re-skilled.
I like that elderly people, senior citizens, they're accepting of all different types of people. I like that there's always people around, there's stable work. I like that there are different housekeeping aspects of it.
You also get to hear their life stories, and you get to help them care for them in the final years of their lives.
Job satisfaction and remarkable relationship with clients are one of the motivations that keep me staying in aged care sector.
The clients are the best. They, you really see that you do make a difference in their lives. It just makes you feel warm and fuzzy knowing that you've made a difference and actually helps them achieve something.
I've been working with Benitez for more than 15 years. And you can see and you can imagine how much I like being one of the staff member of Benitez.
I chose to work for Benetas because they're very client focused.
I like the values that they had and that support program for people with disabilities.
It's really nice to be part of a network that selflessly is in the pursuit to provide homes for people who could no longer care for themselves. I had a very fulfilling career in aged care so far, and I have had so many precious relationships with people, and nothing compares to that.
As you can see, working in aged care is suitable for people from all walks of life, different backgrounds and levels of experience. The one thing they all have in common though is that they genuinely care for others.
It's an extremely rewarding job. Your interaction and your communication with these clients, it makes people's day and it makes you feel like you're actually making a difference in the world. And isn't that what we want to do?
Well, that concludes the formalities for this morning, and I hope you've enjoyed the event and the format of this year's breakfast. I'd like to thank Webcast Cloud for managing our webinar this morning for their support throughout the process. I'd also like to thank Ria Steele for putting this event together, and I'd like to thank her personally because she's probably made me look good. I hope so anyway. There's always much work that goes on behind the scenes, so thank you so much, Ria, for a wonderful job. Thank you everyone for joining us. We look forward to seeing you again next year, hopefully face to face. I'm pretty confident we will. Enjoy your morning and thank you again.